Thank you very much, Coach Ivan. Thanks a lot for joining us all the way from United States. Coach, you are a certified coach and you train people around the world. So talk us more about what type of coaching do you do? Because there are a lot of coaches, like, for example, you have the life coach, you've got the leadership coach, you've got the coaches only for men and only for female, then comes a business coach and so forth. What is your specialty when it comes to coaching?
My niche is coaching men.
Mm-hmm.
That's my true passion. And I think where I came to that was when I went through a certain period of time in my life where I really, really struggled. Mm-hmm. And it just seemed like, men are typically taught two forms of socially acceptable forms of expression. That's anger and lust, right? Whereas women, on the other hand, are taught the whole spectrum of this emotional intelligence. And we're really emotionally ignorant. And so when I went through my fire, when I walked through the fire and I walked through the wilderness by myself, I realized what I wouldn't have gave to have somebody that could have kind of coached me through this process. Somebody that could understand, that can articulate some of the emotions and the feelings that I was really feeling, that can help me identify what those feelings are, and then be able to come up with a proactive plan to cope with those things and become better as a man, as a husband, as a father, and as a citizen into the world. So that really became my niche, and that's how I fell into my niche.
Wow. So is it important to have a very specific niche, or niche as you pronounce? Is it very important to have a niche? Why don't you go for a wider niche?
I think in this, you have to find a need, right? Or you have to find a problem and then find a solution. You can cast a broad net and say, okay, I'm a life coach, but what does that really mean? Life as in what? Life as relationship, life as in parenting, life as career, life as just life, or what is it exactly? So I think the need to be specific in your niche is important, because now everything that you do and say, and I write a lot. So, so anything that I write, I'm intentional in what I write. So there's a certain group of people that I'm focusing on. There's a message that is specifically for them. And so when they hear those key words, then they know that I'm speaking to them. And because I'm able to speak to them directly, then that builds that rapport, and that builds that trust, and that builds that relationship. Whereas versus you cast a broad net, then you're not as effective. That's what I found. You're not as effective by casting a broad net.
Absolutely. And I 100% agree to what you said right now. Now, there are certain keywords, that's what you use. There are certain keywords that trigger the other person that you are talking exactly to him or to that group of people. Now, have you gone through the same situation? What made you to become a coach in a very specific niche? Have you gone through those pains in your life?
Right. So great question. So, like I mentioned earlier, your pain is your passion, right? Your pain becomes your passion. Yeah. My particular pain was a mental illness and multiple mental illnesses, to be exact. Borderline personality disorder, bipolar, ADHD. And really how I kind of came into it was I was in corporate America. I was successful by all the societal norms. I was in management, had six-figure income. I had the car, I had the clothes, I had the title, I had all these things, right? But I was completely unfulfilled. And I never could quite figure out why I was unfulfilled. And so my wife kind of said, okay, look, you need to go seek some help, because I struggle with drugs, I struggle with alcohol. I had a lot of substance abuse issues. And so I really kind of fell into coaching through that process there, through that journey of self-discovery through my mental illnesses, and realizing, okay, that, I can't be the only one to suffer these things. And if I'm willing to suffer and learn and then be able to articulate and change and be able to help others change, then that's my niche. So that's how I came into, really coaching towards men, and then with the mental illness whole aspect of it behind it. It's just my own journey. Really.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, since you moved into coaching, is it important to be coachable?
Absolutely. I have a coach. I absolutely. I have a spirit. In fact, I have a spiritual / business coach. He's a reverend. Actually, I think he might have been a guest on your show. But I understand the value of having a coach. A lot of times, it's considered a luxury to have a coach.
Yep.
So one of the things that I've learned is how to make myself affordable to all different types of budgets and so forth, because I understand that, coaching is typically thought of as a luxury product or a luxury service. But absolutely, in order to grow, you have to be coachable. And in order to be coachable, you have to be, humble. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be receptive to criticism. And you have to be willing to grow. So yes, absolutely, I have a coach. And he's really good. I like my coach. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of people in the corporate America and outside US as well who might be in a higher position, just like what you mentioned, earning a 6-figure, a car and a house and a good family, but they are not aware of what's happening mentally within them. What would be the advice for you? What was the first trigger that lit you saying that, well, there is an issue or challenge within me? Was it you who identified, or was it somebody else who said, there's something you need to check?
Sensei, that's a great question, and it's really a hard question to answer. That's a complex question with an even more complex answer. I think I struggled with my own self. I struggled for years with these issues. Like, I knew intuitively, I knew that something was wrong. Intellectually, I knew that something was wrong with me. I felt that I was intelligent. I felt like I was smart. I had the degrees to kind of prove to societal norms. Okay, he's educated, but there was always something that just seemed to. There was always a piece of a puzzle that was always missing, and it was extremely frustrating. Like, I knew I shouldn't have to be struggling with these things. I shouldn't have to be struggling with the drugs. I shouldn't have to be struggling with self-image or having this low self-esteem, this low self-image of myself. I shouldn't be struggling the way I am to open up and love my wife the way I should love my wife, and have all these trust issues towards my wife when she has given me no reason in the world to not trust her. So I knew that there was something intrinsically wrong with me. And it was really through the encouraging of my wife to say, okay, Ivan, we're struggling here as husband and wife, and I love you enough to say you need to go and seek some type of counsel outside of me. And I loved her enough, and I love her still enough to say, okay, let's pursue this avenue, because I know there's something wrong. And so she signed up, or she got me an appointment with a psychiatrist, and it still took a year of me going to the psychiatrist before a name or a title was kind of given to some of the issues that I had. So it was, even after a year, it still took a year, and I still was committed, even though when there was no progress, or there was no signs of progress, there was no signs of solution. I was on medication, but there was still nothing really changed. My life was just a little bit better. It wasn't well. It wasn't good. It was just better than the chaos that I had been living in. And then it was finally, say, hey, look, you need to research these 2 particular items, and this, maybe the answer lies therein. So that's really kind of how I kind of came to this revelation of that, I needed to make these really big changes. And that's kind of how it came into coaching.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that. Now, the question, because you brought your family in right now, you spoke about your wife. So my next question is, how important is family?
Absolutely. Everything. My wife, I always have a saying, my wife is my life. Right.
That's a good quote. That's a good quote.
But my wife is my life. And here's a funny thing that I had to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned this through my divorce.
Okay.
And then going into my second marriage, right?
Okay.
So my first marriage,
mm-hmm.
my kids probably were my priority, right? And not my wife.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I went through the divorce, and then I went through a period of isolation. You know, when I say isolation, I just spent a lot of time on my Bible. I spent a lot of time meditating, spiritually and so forth. And then I realized, my wife has to be first, not my kids. Mm-hmm. And so that was very hard for me to transition from, loving my kids more than loving my wife, where I had to learn to love my wife more than I love my kids. Because, society says that's not the way it is. You're supposed to love your kids. Mm-hmm. But if you have any type of spiritual context or spiritual background, then, that belief is going to be challenged. So my wife is my life. It's just that simple. My wife is my life. I don't know any other way to say it. And I have another saying. Too. Friends forgive, lovers don't. Right?
Absolutely.
And she and I we were best friends first before we ever became lovers and before we ever became a husband and wife. So friends forgive, lovers don't. Friendship is key in a happy marriage. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So when did you stake your speaking career? Now, did that begin while you were in the corporate world, or was it after you went through the coaching? Because I know that one of your passion is to speak. And you bring changes in the people through your speeches, which are very powerful.
Right. Thank you. Yes. It actually started from my son joined at-risk male youth program here in Miami-Dade County called 5,000 Role Models of Excellence.
Wow.
And he joined the program as a freshman. They had an event at the location that my job. And I went and I saw what this organization was about. And I was like, wow, this is really, really powerful. So I sought out opportunities to volunteer for them. And one of the opportunities was to be able to be a motivational speaker for them. So, I volunteered, I went and I had to talk with them and I spoke to the kids and I loved it. In my day-to-day life, I'm much more quiet. I'm very reserved. But you put me in front of a room full of people and I can't shut up. I just talk. My wife wished, I probably would be that way at home, but that's not the way it is, So I just love, I love speaking and I love being transparent and being vulnerable in front of the audience and saying, I can relate to you. I understand the struggles, but there's hope. There's really hope that things can turn around. So that's my speaking. My speaking comes from passion. There's just a passion that I have to help others. Wow. It's just that simple. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, those who are listening to us, to this broadcast, please do understand that if you are an introvert or if you are a reserved person, just like what Coach Ivan said right now, there's no problem in it. I'm a very reserved guy. I'm an introvert. I don't speak with people much. I'm a very shy guy, but put me onto the stage and I'll show who I am. And that's exactly what Coach Ivan is specifying here. So being an introvert is a blessing. Please do understand, being an introvert is a blessing and being an extrovert is also a blessing. So now let me take you to the next question. Has there been any time somebody came, knocked your door or gave you a call, a surprise call, or saw you in the church and said, Coach, you changed my life. You touched my heart?
Yes. Yeah, yes. And I had a client. When I first really started coaching, I had a client. He was an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he had a successful business.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened the day that I met him,
Mm-hmm.
he had just got a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
Not only did he have a divorce, but he had lost his business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was completely broke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like the worst case scenario, right? It's like the perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I lost my money, I lost my wife, I've lost my kids, I've lost everything, all in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And so he and I started to work together.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked together for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you go to my website, ivanhunt.com, you'll hear his testimony.
Wow.
You know, talking about how I helped him through those times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, going through the divorce, healing from the divorce, kind of putting his business back together and what it is he wanted to do and how he wanted to achieve those things. And let's come up with a strategic plan and a strategic strategy. Let's be intentional in everything that we do, so that way we're efficient, we're not wasting time.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, but it's also very humbling,
Mm-hmm.
you know, when someone comes to you and not just him, you know, I have other people that come to me, that reach out to me and say, man, you really have made a big impact on my life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's humbling. You know, it's almost, it's hard to explain if you haven't experienced it, but if you've experienced people coming to you and said, you've changed my life, then that humility that I'm speaking of, you'll grasp. But it's powerful. It's really powerful, and then it's fuel. It makes you want to keep going and doing more and more and more and more and more. So it's a beautiful thing, but very humbling.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we spoke about the successful Ivan, and then we spoke about the ditch and the pain that you went through, and then you woke up from there. You became a coach. You got into a very good family, and then you became a speaker, and then there was something that you started writing.
Right. So
Talk
I wrote
about writing.
Great lead. You're excellent here. so this is my book. It's called Boot Camp for Personal Success.
Wow.
And I'm a disabled veteran from the U.S. military. I was working with a nonprofit veterans organization, and I was trying to figure out a way to get involved with veterans because I have a strong passion for veterans. And so they asked me to come up with a 6-week program, and you know, focusing on decision making. So I started off really just coming up with a 6-week program around decision making, and then as I started reviewing it and looking at it, started adding things here, adding things there, and adding stories here, adding stories there. And I said, well, wait a minute, I got an ebook here. So I went to, I kind of went to Kindle, and they, you know, I published the ebook, and then Kindle said, do you want to write a paperback? I was like, huh? It never, you know, it never dawned on me. But the crazy thing is, I've always wanted to write a book. And so, you know, I was probably 30, 40 pages short of their minimal requirement. And so I just started writing and just kept writing. I started adding in, you know, my own personal experiences. The book has a lot of my own individual, like I said, experiences, but there's also practical tools that you can apply and implement immediately into your life. It's a super, super, super easy read. If you start from start to finish, you can probably read it in an hour and a half. But if you actually take the time to work the book, it could take you 2, 3, 4 weeks, maybe even months, you know, if you really put that kind of thought into it. What you put into the book is what you will get out of the book. But I guarantee you, you will get something out of that book. Guarantee you. It took me, here's the crazy thing. If I had enough time to tell you the story about the book, you know, I learned this term recently about imposter syndrome. Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah.
Okay. So and plus I'm borderline. So with borderline, there's already this internal dialogue of self-doubt and very negative thoughts and perceptions, right? So after I wrote the book, I was completely terrified. I don't think I had ever been more scared of anything in my life up until the point where it was time for me to hit publish. And I remember telling my wife, baby, I am petrified. And she was like, what do you mean? This is a great accomplishment. Oh, you've done it. Da, 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 da. And I was like, but baby, you don't understand it. Like, I am petrified to hit publish. And it really, truly freaked me out. And I hit publish. And over the course of the next 5 months, I completely self-destructed. Completely self-destructed. Everything that had ever gone wrong in my life over a 10, 12-year span happened in 5 months. And it really hasn't been till maybe the last month and a half that I've kind of come back to my senses a little bit and started healing and recovering. And that's what really led me to my passion to be an advocate for borderline personality disorder. Wow. So as good of accomplishment or great as accomplishment it was for the book, it also set me down a very dark spiral. As crazy as that sounds. Wow. I just thought I'd share that.
Oh, thanks a lot. Thank you very much for sharing that, Coach. Now, there could be a lot of people who are listening to us and who would like to write a book, because I had that sort of dream once upon a time to write a book. So there are a lot of people who wish to write a book, and it's a dream for them. And sometimes people die with their dream. They take it all the way to the graveyard or to the cemetery. Yes. So what is one advice that you would like to share with those who have got a dream to write a book?
My book opens up. I'm a huge Les Brown fan.
Wow. Yes. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yes. I am a absolute huge Les Brown fan. And, one of my goals was to work with him somehow, some way, but, I still got to meet him, right? I went to one of his seminars here at South Florida last year. And that's kind of how I linked up with, Reverend Bryant and so forth, and Antonio Smith. But my book opens up is it's possible. You say to yourself every day, that is possible. And I remember listening to him in that motivational speak talking about it's possible. And I was at that crossroads in my life where I really wasn't sure what I was going to do next. And, but I had all these ideas, I had all these dreams, I had all these goals, and I knew something could happen, but I didn't think it was possible. But then I heard him say it's possible. And I just really, really chewed on that statement for a long time. So my advice or my suggestion or recommendation to anybody who has that unfilled dream and they have this untapped potential inside of them, that, it is possible. That it is possible that if somebody else can do it, then you can do it. That there's going to be challenges, there's going to be hardships. You're going to be, you're going to encounter things externally and internally that are going to push you and challenge you and discourage you. But so long as you hold on to that belief, there's nobody else that will ever live or ever exist till kingdom come that can offer the world that you have. Okay.
What is that one advice you would like to give to the female, to the mother, to the wife who have somebody who is going through, the husband or the son or the children going through the same situation, mental situation that you are going? Now, from a female perspective, what is that suggestion? What is that advice that you would like to give them?
Powerful question. Powerful question. The first two words that pop in my head, the first one is education. Educate yourself on the condition. In my case, like I said, it's borderline personality disorder. And the crazy thing about borderline is the real triggers for are the interpersonal relationships that you have. So the people that you're going to act out on the most are the ones that you love the most, which really is counterintuitive, right, to logic. Logic says you treat those that you love the most the best, right? Well, borderline says just the opposite. They love you, they can hurt you. They love you, you love them. They have the ability to hurt you, so we're going to push them away in the event that they hurt you. And we're going to create this scenario where they're actually going to hurt you, and we're going to push you away as a preventive act so that way they don't hurt you. And then see, they hurt you, and now this cycle continues. Educate yourself on the condition that your significant other has. You know, my wife has taken the time to research what borderline is, and so she's been able to recognize sometimes when it's my rational mind and when it's not my rational mind. And the second thing is, other than education, is compassion.
Yeah.
You know, the person that you love, they didn't wake up and raise their hand in class and say, oh, give me this, I want this, I want this mental illness. That's not what they did.
Yeah.
You know, 99% of the time, they had no choice. Exactly. You know, it was something that was kind of just given to them, or they were dealt with, or they were born with. You know, there's genetics involved. There's environmental issues involved. There's so many different things that are involved in these development of these mental illnesses that are really outside the control of the individual. Absolutely. So if that's the case, then, you know, be compassionate with them. You know, understand that they didn't ask for this. They don't want this. It's similar to a cancer or some type of heart disease. You know, the only difference is physically you can see it, but with mental illnesses, you can't see it. And so, you know, a lot of times their actions, the things that they say, the things that they do, don't make sense, or they don't compare to logic. And so for those that don't have that affliction, it's hard for them to understand. So my two things to a spouse would be educate yourself and then show compassion and be patient. The third one would be patient. So education, compassion, and patience. Absolutely.
Wow, that was great. Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Ivan,